Boom.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Sports Talk with Austin, your daily dose of sports entertainment. And today on the show, it is the 2023 SEC Conference Preview. And special guest along for the ride, Jackson Johnson. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Austin?
Doing fantastic. Cannot wait to get into this as we get into things all SEC, looking at the records, the schedules. Cannot wait. Predicting some hot takes, predicting a little bit of everything. So let's get into it, shall we? Why don't we start out east, where the reigning defending champs, Georgia, are. And what are our predictions?
Georgia winning the East.
Prize here, Jackson. As you all can tell, as we go through, you will see both of our names pop up with our predictions and records of what we think each team will do. And Georgia, they're going to be the kings of the East again, unbeaten. I mean, just look at their schedule. Their toughest game is probably going to be Tennessee. Do we really think anybody's going to challenge them? Do you think anybody's going to challenge them, Jackson?
Oklahoma probably would have, but Greg Sankey took that off last season.
Yeah. With Georgia, there's not much to say other than they've got a lot of talent that they lost a lot of talent to the draft, but Kirby Smart replenished it. Their schedule's not that hard. I mean, there's not much else to say other than Georgia is going to remain the kings of the East. But they do possibly have a challenger, Tennessee. And This is where me and Jackson have a difference of opinion. I have them 9-3 and 6-2. Jackson has them 10-2 and 6-2 in conference. So Jackson, please explain to the viewing audience why you have them at 10-2.
Well, I don't believe that they're going to have a hard time in their non-conference play. I mean, they got Virginia to start off the season, and I don't think they're going to quite have a hard time against UTSA in the fourth quarter at the very least. I think that game's going to be a 10-point win against the Roadrunners. I mean, do not be surprised if UTSA does catch Tennessee sleeping, but at the same time, expect Tennessee to hold off UTSA in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Now, I will say, as for my side of the predictions, I have an upset special, too. I have them losing to UTSA. Now, let me go into a little explaining here. I feel like this is a game that could potentially catch Tennessee, because UTSA is a very talented team. Frank Harris and that offense, I feel like they're going to repeat some success that they had, and Tennessee's defense. If they haven't got that fixed, we could have a shootout on our hands, and UTSA, I feel like, could possibly sneak out a win there. Another upset special I have is Kentucky. Now, here's why. The week before, Tennessee plays Alabama. I have them beating Bama 2 years in a row. And then the following week, they go at Kentucky. It's going to be a letdown game. I feel like Kentucky's going to catch them napping. They're going to be excited. We beat Bama 2 years in a row. And Kentucky beats them at Kroger Field. Now, with all that being put in proper context, obviously Georgia is going to be a loss for both of us. Put in proper context, Jackson. Is there any other games on Tennessee's schedule that maybe people should look out for that we're not mentioning?
Well, there's Tennessee, Texas A&M. I mean, Tennessee's going to win that game, but that is going to be a tight one. But Tennessee, Florida, that is an underrated game for this season. Because, I mean, the last time Tennessee has beaten Florida in Gainesville was 2003. The last time they beat Florida in back-to-back seasons was in 2003 and 2004. So do not be surprised if Florida is giving Tennessee a hard time. I would love to see if Tennessee can win in Gainesville and Tuscaloosa. I don't see them winning in Tuscaloosa, though. But if they do manage to win in Gainesville and Tuscaloosa this season, it'll be the first time since 2003 that it has been accomplished.
Now, for Tennessee, what is their key to success in your opinion, Jackson? Is their defense? Is it going to be Joe Milton? What is their key to success if they want to have the same success that they had last year, as we're predicting?
I think that Joe Milton's production is going to be the key to success. We're going to see if he has the same production levels as Hendon Hooker did last season.
Yes, and they have a lot of talent returning. They lost a lot of talent. Cedric Thielen, Jalen Hyatt, those guys are gone. But they also have some really talented guys on the outside. So Tennessee's set up well for success.
Yeah.
I think 9-3, 10-2, our predictions, I think those are about right. I don't think Tennessee's going to go 11-1. I mean, Jackson, do you see 11-1 anywhere, or are we just making our safe bets?
Anything can happen in the world of college football. So, I mean, they ended a big losing streak against Bama. If they end a big losing streak against Georgia, which we don't see happening this season, but if they did, holy cow, it would show everybody they are serious as a contender.
Now, another team that has intrigue in the East, Spencer Rattler and the South Carolina Gamecocks. I predict that they will go 8-4 and 5-3 in conference. Jackson has predicted a 7-5, 4-4. Looking at their schedule, obviously they open up against North Carolina. That's going to be a huge game for both sides, especially for South Carolina, because that's going to set their season off. They've also got Georgia. Go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, North Carolina's defense is going to be a disaster. So,
yeah, I feel
it's a disgrace.
Yeah, I feel like South Carolina. Go ahead.
Yeah, North Carolina's defense is just a disgrace. Worse than Iowa's offense.
Oh, that's a big statement, too. Whew. Iowa's offense. Let's hope they can get that fixed. But I feel like South Carolina's going to win that game. Then I got them going on. They're going to lose to Georgia. I think Tennessee gets them back again. I feel like South Carolina's, they're not going to be terrible. They're going to be pretty comfortably in a bowl game. But I don't think they're going to be a team that's competing for New Year's Six just yet. But Jackson, looking at your record prediction, and tell the good people out there where your losses are and some of your wins are on that schedule.
Well, Clemson and Georgia are going to be obvious victories against South Carolina. Tennessee's going to be an obvious revenge game. I mean, they're sitting there thinking about how can we get revenge against South Carolina. That's what they're thinking about. And I also have Texas A&M getting a little revenge against the Gamecocks as well. I mean, although that could be a toss-up in some people's eyes. I mean, after this year, Texas A&M South Carolina is not going to be an annual game. Thank the Lord.
It will be interesting. Now, let me ask you, Jackson. Do you think Spencer Rattler could be a Heisman contender this year coming out of the SEC? Could he be a Heisman candidate, in your opinion?
If he plays like he did the last 2 weeks of the regular season, yes. But I'm on wait and see mode with Spencer Rattler. What can he accomplish in the month of September? Because it is a very tough schedule as with North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. So I mean, we gotta see
Yeah,
Let's see what the Rattler brings in September first. Then we can go into October, November talking about whether he's a Heisman contender or not.
yeah, that's the big key with South Carolina. Is Spencer Rattler going to be consistent? Because if you get the Spencer Rattler that gives you 3 touchdowns, no picks, and gives you 250 through the air and he's proficient, South Carolina could very well be a very good team. But if you get the Spencer Rattler that 1 week, you get the last 2 weeks of the season, and then you get a Spencer Rattler that's throwing picks everywhere and fumbling and getting sacked. It's going to be interesting because consistency is the key. If he's consistent, there's arguably no one better than him in the SEC. Arguably. But if he's not consistent, it's going to be a long year for South Carolina. And I just think, I know we can't put it all on him, but talk about, to me, Jackson, the job Shane Beamer has done. You know, a lot of the talk has been on Spencer Rattler. What about the job Shane Beamer has done at South Carolina? For us to believe that he is.
Shane Beamer's been fantastic. I mean, he is a chip off the old block in Frank Beamer. I mean, we're getting to see a lot of Beamer ball in Gamecock Nation. I mean, that is awesome. And I mean, nobody even expected South Carolina to make a bowl game in 2021. Nobody was expecting the fantastic end to the regular season last year. I mean, they were just like, holy cow, this guy's amazing.
Yes. I think Shane Beamer has turned South Carolina around, and now I think they're going to be a consistent bowl team from here on out. Do I think they'll ever win the East? I would like to be nice and say there's maybe anything can happen, but I just don't think so. But speaking of a guy who's turned a program, go ahead, Jackson.
I do have them losing a tight one to Kentucky though, because it's like, that game's going to be a toss-up. Everybody's talking about Georgia, Tennessee that night, but there's going to be some people, well, guys like us, watching a little bit of South Carolina, Kentucky. Kentucky's going to get that one.
Well, speaking of Kentucky, Jackson, and guys that have turned things around, Mark Stoops and the Wildcats. Now, we're a little down on Kentucky this year. They're 7-5 and 4-4 in conference for both of us. In conference, so Kentucky, obviously, their schedule it's a little in between. They got Florida, Georgia, they got Alabama. Those right there are 3 losses. I think Louisville could possibly get them. I think there's too much on that schedule for me to say Kentucky is going to repeat success and win 9 games again. What is your opinion on Kentucky, Jackson?
Well, they got a great team heading their way, but I do believe that Vanderbilt's going to trip them up a little bit because they're going to sit and think a little bit about Florida, but Vanderbilt's like, not so fast, you guys. But at the same time, I do wonder if Devin Leary can continue some of the magic that he pulled at North Carolina State, and if he's bringing that with him in Lexington. I hope he does, though. Mm-hmm. I wish him nothing but awesomeness, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, bro.
Yeah, I think Devin Leary, he's one of those that people are sometimes either really high on him, and then there's people that are down on him. depending on how he's playing. If he's playing great football, people are like Devin Leary can be a very high quarterback, very high draft pick. But when he's playing bad or when he's been hit with the injury bug, people are down on him and they seem to forget some of the talent he possesses. Now, the question is, we do a joke about Iowa and their offense, but can Kentucky's offense be better than what it has been? Can they stop relying on the run as much and come up to date a little bit more? What do you think, Jackson? You think Mark Stoops can?
Well, to your point about their offense being so down, last year it was 111th in scoring. Rushing yards per game, it was 107th in the nation. Passing yards per game, it was 94th. And total yards per game, it was 115th in the nation. And they didn't even score a single point in the Music City Bowl against Iowa. That's bad. That is bad.
Yes. Now, give credit where it is due. Iowa's defense is elite. But Iowa's offense scored 21 points. Kentucky, that's bad. That's the big story. You give up 21 points to Iowa, you need to fix something because Iowa struggles to score over 20. So Kentucky, let's hope you fix that in 2023. Because if y'all can't score some points against Iowa and the Vandies of the world, you're going to be in trouble. Now, speaking of a team who's got some changes going over, Billy Napier and the Florida Gators.
Ooh, Florida. Yeah, they got a tough schedule ahead of them. They're starting off with the two-time conference champs, Utah. I mean, yes, they beat Utah last season, but this time they got to go to Rice-Eccles Stadium on Thursday night. That's going to be scary.
Yes.
And they got Tennessee coming to their backyard on week 3. And on week 5, they got to go to Kentucky. They got Vandy on October 7th. October 14th, they're going to see if they can continue some of their dominance against South Carolina. They got the little bye week preparing for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party against Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's going to mop the floor against them. I mean, sorry to say. Florida, Arkansas, we see that happening on November 4th. I wonder if that'll be like a CBS game or a ESPN game. Who knows? November 11th, we got Florida, LSU, and that's going to be at Death Valley. November 18th gets a little easier. They get to go play Missouri. And on rivalry week, they got Florida State, of course. I got a feeling they're going to pull a little disappointment on Florida State, though. Kind of make people think, hey, guys, let's give Billy Napier a chance. I mean, Graham Mertz, I heard this week, was the new starting quarterback for Florida. I'm thinking to myself, let's see how this plays out. I mean, he wasn't so hot at Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's for me, Jackson, I'm iffy because Graham Mertz is not the quarterback Anthony Richardson. I think we all can understand that. Anthony Richards, has been called a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He can run. He can throw on the run. He can do everything that a Patrick Mahomes can do to a certain extent. Graham Mertz is like your Drew Breeses and your Tom Brady's of the world. He's a standstill quarterback. He'll take off when he has to, but he prefers if he has time in the pocket and sit back there and throw. And in the SEC with defenses like Georgia and LSU and Alabama's coming at you, it's going to be hard just to sit back there and pick them apart. You're going to have to go on the run a little bit. And especially with that opening game against Utah, Kyle Whittingham and company, defense is their specialty. They thrive on that. That's how
Oh yeah.
Utah's built their reputation. I could see Utah getting to him and setting the tone for Florida in the entire season. And Gators fans, as my good co-host says all the time, throw the baby out with the bathwater. They're going to look at that one game and say, "Oh, Graham Mertz is no good. Billy Napier, it's time for you to go." But have patience, guys. Have patience. It's going to take a minute. We have y'all
Plus,
making
it's
a
gonna cost
bowl.
a lot of money.
Yes. We got y'all making a bowl. We're being nice. But anything more than just 6-6, celebrate the streets, guys. Throw a party down the streets in Tampa, Florida if you want. Because
Just don't break anything.
yes, don't break anything. Be safe out there and do all the right things, but celebrate. But it's when you look at the schedule, like you said, Jackson, it's not an easy one. It does not line up for them. And plus, Florida have they fixed all their issues? We shall see. I mean, for you, Jackson, being a fan of the SEC, which I'm also a fan of the SEC as well. But Jackson is a guy who watches it religiously because of Bama. What do you see in Florida that maybe outsiders wouldn't see that sets them apart?
Well, the passion. There's a lot of passion for sure. Everybody's got a lot of passion for their teams in the SEC. So there's
Now,
that.
what's your thoughts on Billy Napier right now? I know we've only seen 1 year, but what's your overall thoughts on it?
I say make sure he's got like a good 5 years for right now. Just kind of like make sure he's got everything he needs. And, I wouldn't say put him on the hot seat going in 2024. I'm not going to say fire him after 2023 because that's not going to happen. It would have to be something really bad for people to go, okay, fire this guy. But if he's still having that kind of season in 2024 or 2025, then it's time to start talking.
Yes, we may be having some Jimbo talks. Now, obviously, he isn't getting paid anywhere near that money, but
no. Well, I mean, he's getting $30 million if he gets fired, so there's that.
Yeah, there is that. But speaking of a team and a coach that could possibly be turning a team in the right direction that might be off the hot seat, Vanderbilt. Now, I'm not as high on Vanderbilt. I'll say that right here, right now. I don't believe in them just quite yet. I feel like that it'll take them a couple more years, and I feel like then they'll be bowl ready. But my co-host, my good buddy Jackson, thinks they're bowl ready now. So Jackson, please explain to everybody why you feel they're bowl ready now.
Well, I've talked to some Vandy people on Twitter, on Instagram, and outside the internet here and there. They feel pretty good about this Vandy team. That's good enough to make a bowl game. I mean, Clark Lee has been doing such a fantastic job over at Vandy, a lot better than Derek Mason. Now, the schedule, they got it made with the non-conference schedule. I mean, they got a bit of an advantage playing in week 0. So that will help them quite a bit. They'll, of course, beat Hawaii, Alabama A&M. They're going to beat Wake Forest by a field goal. I mean, Wake Forest losing some key guys here and there. I mean, they had a bit of a disappointing year last year, and they're going to go down the drain a little bit. And I think Vandy is going to go over to Winston-Salem, and they're going to make Wake Forest sad a little bit. And, of course, they'll beat UNLV, and they're going to have a great time over in Vegas. I mean, they're going to be having fun and partying, and they're going to bring that little party train over back home to Nashville to put another scare into Kentucky. Then they're going to put a scare into Missouri, and they'll be celebrating bowl eligibility on September 30th or October 1st. But Florida is going to get some revenge on them. Georgia's going to get some revenge. Well, not Georgia get revenge. Sorry. Florida's getting revenge. Georgia's going to smack them around. The Ole Miss offense, oh, man, they're going to smack around Vandy. And I see Auburn. That's going to be a tight matchup, but Auburn pulls it off. South Carolina and Spencer Rattler, they're going to be like bam, 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 bam. And you're going to see Tennessee. They're going to be like, let's go have a talk outside the stadium. Second straight 10-win season for Tennessee at the expense of Vandy.
Now I will say, for me, I think they'll win 3 out of 4 of their non-cons. I think Wake's going to be their only loss. But I have them beat Missouri. I'm not very high on Missouri. Spoiler alert when we get there. But I'm looking at the rest of the schedule. I'm trying to find another win. I don't see another win on there. I feel like the SEC's too deep, too good. And I feel like Vandy's not quite on that level yet. I think they'll get to that level, but I feel like Kentucky's got revenge on the mind. I feel like Tennessee, of course, is going to do what they always do. Georgia, the best team in the SEC, arguably, they're going to put a hurting on them. Ole Miss, going to put a hurting on them. I mean, it's just gonna be rough after Missouri. So 4-8, I just don't see another win. But Jackson, what do you think? What is Vandy, and what could Vandy possibly do to maybe get another win or two, to possibly have their first 8-win season in a long time? Is there any keys to that success?
I don't see an 8-win season quite yet. I think they're gonna have to. We'll definitely see if they can get there in like 2025. I'm thinking it's more like 6-win seasons for now. But it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot tougher after 2023.
Now, I will say this. You mentioned Clark Lee. I mean, what a great job he's done. The fact that you're thinking Vandy's going to be bowl eligible says the job that he has done. Talk about that. How he has brought Vandy back to relevancy as much as he can.
Well, like after James Franklin left for Penn State, greener pastures at State College, you see Derek Mason taking over. He does his best, but he didn't quite get him to a winning record. He got him to a few ball games here and there, but that's it. Two, I might add, 2016 and 2018. I mean, best he did was have a winning streak over Tennessee. That was it. But then we see that final year in 2020, they were winless. They were just a disaster all over the place. And 2021, of course, was a nightmare. But 2022, there's a little bit of confidence because they pulled off those little upsets over Kentucky and Florida. Florida was caught napping. Vandy got them. Unfortunately, they couldn't quite do the same with Tennessee. But maybe this year, am I kidding? They won't. They're not going to.
Sorry, Vandy. You're not going to catch Tennessee napping, and you're not on the count level yet. But speaking of teams that aren't going to catch anybody sleeping, our last place team, Missouri. Oh, poor Missouri. Oh, Missouri. I'm going to go on record. Take it away, Jackson. Put them out of their misery.
That schedule, man. I mean, after weeks 1 and 2 against South Dakota and Middle Tennessee, you got to deal with the defending Big 12 champ, Kansas State, and you got to see, and then you got to go deal with Memphis in a neutral site. I'm like, oh man, that's going to be a nightmare right there. Then you got to go Vandy. You got LSU coming to your backyard. Then you got to go to Kroger Field to Kentucky. You got South Carolina coming to your backyard. I mean, luckily you've had a winning streak against South Carolina, so maybe you're good to go. Maybe South Carolina's going to end it, but Georgia's going to just be mad. They're going to take you between the hedges in Athens. Tennessee's coming over to Columbia, Missouri on November 11th. Joe Milton's going to pad some stats on them, like how Hendon Hooker did last year. Yeah, don't put that game on for the kids, folks. I'm going to tell you right now. No. Then you got Florida coming over to Missouri. So that could be a bit of a toss-up, but Florida wins that matchup. And then we see the Battle Lane rivalry between Missouri and Arkansas, a team that has Kansas in their name, but it's not quite a rivalry. But Arkansas is going to get their revenge.
Yeah. Poor Missouri. They got the rough end of the schedule this time. Now, I would like to preface this. My 3 wins are all out of conference. I have them beating Memphis. I'd like to preface it. I think they sneak a win out against Memphis. But after that, it's kind of like, I know a lot of Missouri fans like to hang their hat on Georgia. You know, oh, we could catch Georgia napping again. We caught them last year. Well, let's put it in its proper context. Georgia was not awake for that game. It was at Missouri. You know, they thought y'all were just going to roll over and let them win, and it turned out y'all came to play. You're going into their house. Yes. You're going to their house now.
I bet. He was like,
yes, more than likely he was probably chewing them out.
Oh, yeah.
But you're going to their house now, and I know that they're going to have to learn a new offense, but I still don't think that's going to be enough of an advantage. So, sorry, Missouri. It's going to be a rough year. And with that, goodbye, Dirk. Goodbye, Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Goodbye. Yeah, Dirk Nowitzki. Yeah, goodbye. I wish you the best of luck, but you're probably done after this year. What do you think, Jackson, on that situation?
Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, they're not going to fire him after this year, but they'll do that whole, we made an announcement and he's going to return for 2024. And I'm like, oh, you got the vote of confidence, bro? Oh, yeah, they're giving you till September. They're going to be like, you're out of here.
I could see that. Well, because Eli has, been given a chance after chance, and as you said, the vote of confidence. But after this season, Jackson, I think he's going to be like Neil Brown, vote of confidence, no more. Goodbye. Good riddance, everybody. And it's going to be on to a new head coach.
They fired Barry Odom for having a sits and sit season 2019. Drinkwitz has gone 5-5 in 2020, the COVID year. He went 6-7 in 2021. Last year he went 6-7. He's having another 6-6 year, or in our case, a worse year. He's in big trouble, especially in SEC country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Neil Brown was coaching in the SEC, they would be throwing his keister out in September. That is a tough reality. I mean, I hope I'm wrong about Drinkwitz, but again, he's got like a good buyout, so that could probably save him. But then again, it might not. So I guess we'll see. Yeah.
But anywho, on to the SEC West now, Jackson. A better place for people and arguably the best division in the SEC. So let's start with the Kings. The team that everyone wants to beat, Alabama. So coming into this year, off a disappointing year in a lot of Bama fans' eyes, I think this year Bama is gonna win the West again. But I'm kind of curious, Jackson. What are your thoughts coming into this year?
Well, I'm not really satisfied with the quarterback position. I think they should have gone after Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. Just tell them, hey, want to win? Want to get in the NFL draft? Come on over to Tuscaloosa. That's what they should have done, but they didn't. Oh, well. So just kind of deal with it. And some of the staff hires, not too pleased with them. The key is, can we not have any penalties? Because 2021, we were 91st in the nation in penalties per, 99th in the nation. Last season, we were 120. We were in the 120s in penalties per game. We've been very undisciplined since Scott Cochran left for Georgia. So that's a bad look for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we got to make sure we got some of that mojo, some of that discipline back. Now.
Yes.
Question is, can anybody beat Bama 2 years in a row? That hasn't happened since 2014, 2015, when Ole Miss did it with Coach Hugh Freeze. Speak of the devil, Hugh Freeze is now at Auburn. And we have quite a hard time in Jordan Hare. And we always have and for the last 2 years, we've had quite a hard time with Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M last season had a meh quarterback in Haynes King, and they almost beat us. That defense, Bama defense, held us out last year. Now we're not going.
Real quick,
I don't think we'll be so lucky against A&M because like last year they had Matt Johnson or Connor Wigman at the helm. They would have really beaten us. This year, I think Mr. Wigman can win against Bama.
Now, I will say, on to that point real quick, Jackson, before you continue, I think it's fair to bring up, and I would like to hear your opinion on this. If we rewind time back, was that a bad call in the end zone? Should that have gone the other way? Because many people believe that if the referee would have thrown that flag at the end of the game, or what was that play making, or the other play that's questionable that many people believe caused it was the throw short of the goal line and over the head. Do you think Bama survived and got lucky, or do you think A&M was they just shot themselves in the foot?
I think it's a little bit of both. One where Texas A&M kind of shot themselves in the foot. Number two, Bama got lucky in that game.
Because Bryce Young wasn't playing either. So you were on his footing when it came to quarterback.
Yeah, he was hurting.
If Bryce Young would have played, there would not be this discussion right now because y'all probably would have won comfortable 10, 15 points. But since he didn't play, y'all got to see Milroe and what was in your future. And if that's your future this year, Nick Saban is going to be benching some quarterbacks. especially Milroe. I mean,
Oh, he's gonna be
you throw
cussing.
2 picks. You throw 2 picks and you fumble. Oh no. Nick Saban does not allow that in Alabama, of all things.
Oh man,
That drives him absolutely nuts.
Oh man, Coach Saban is gonna be screaming and yelling all season, but Miss Terry's probably gonna have him running laps. But on the bright side, he'll get to have some carrot cake.
Yes, on the bright side. But looking at Alabama's schedule, I have Alabama losing to Tennessee. I have them losing 2 years in a row. The good buddy to my left believes that Bama's going to get them, and they're going to get LSU, which I agree with. But I have Texas A&M this year getting them as well. And Jackson believes the same thing. Now, out of all the games on their schedule, Jackson, is there any game that you look at and say, let's not go to sleep on this game, other than the big ones?
Well, I say don't go sleep on the Iron Bowl. Don't sleep on that game. That's gonna be a scary one. And
I'll throw
probably
one at you.
Arkansas.
Don't sleep on Ole Miss.
No. That offense, oh man, they've made so many great additions to their receiving core, and of course they got the 3rd best running game in the nation. That's Ole Miss right there. I mean, this game's going to be played in Tuscaloosa though, but Bama, they're going to win that one.
Yes, I feel as if 10-2 and 10-2 is a safe prediction. Saban rarely loses very many games. I feel like they're going to beat Texas since it's in Alabama. And, of course, they're going to beat the daunted Chattanooga. And they're going to go to South Florida and eat some clam soup down there. Now, Jackson, I want your take. What do you think of the Kentucky game this year? Do you think Mark Stoops has enough horses to beat Alabama? Because we know a certain somebody that's talking a little bit of trash about this game.
No, Bama is not going to have any trouble with Kentucky. That's going to be a 41-17 victory.
As it should be. But speaking of coaches, this coach has gotten a lot of attention, Jackson. That he's brought LSU back to relevancy. That he's the greatest. He's become better than Nick Saban all of a sudden. And you know who we're talking about? Brian Kelly, BK. Okay, now this is interesting. You look at LSU. They're returning a lot, but they've also lost a lot. They're a very interesting team. And you look around in the preseason polls, coaches polls, everyone's hyped on them. Now, don't get me wrong, LSU's going to be good, but can they sustain greatness with BK? What do you think, Jackson?
Well, Brian Kelly can win big games in the regular season, but he can't win big games in the postseason. And like everybody talks about, oh, they beat Alabama. Oh, they're going to take over the world. I'm like, they still got Arkansas and Texas A&M on their schedule. I mean, had KJ Jefferson not been hurt and had he been able to play, I think he basically would have helped Bama get back to the SEC title game. Arkansas kind of has a history of they kind of have a history of bailing out Bama. I mean, they did that in 2015 against Ole Miss. If KJ Jefferson had been able to play, they would have beaten LSU and probably bailed out Bama in a way.
Now, I got something. Yes. I got something interesting to say. For all the LSU fans out there that are bragging about, oh, how we beat Alabama, that the SEC West is ours now, that Brian Kelly is going to surpass Nick Saban in the SEC. Y'all need to slow down a little bit. Don't put the cart before the horse. Like, I give you credit, yes. What he did last year was phenomenal. 70% of the roster was overturned. Phenomenal job. We're not discrediting that. I'm not. Are you discrediting any of that, Jackson?
No.
He did a fabulous job. But for people to put LSU on the same pedestal as Alabama and Brian Kelly on the same pedestal as Nick Saban, let's slow down. Let's slow down a little bit. Let's see if they can beat them 2 years in a row. It'll shut my mouth. But you can't sit here and tell me that LSU's ready to take over when they cannot beat Bama consistently. Because let's be honest, 2019 you had the best team arguably in college football history. You were supposed to beat Bama, but then after that, Bama wins on again. Same story as always. So let's see some results on the field. And, if you beat them again, kudos to you, and I'll eat my crow. And I truly will. But until we see that, let's slow down. Let's not just put the cart in front of the horse. But what are we talking about? There's more than just Alabama on the schedule, Jackson. We get to see Arkansas,
Texas A&M, Florida State. I mean, there's all kinds of games besides Alabama.
Florida. Yes.
Yeah.
Now I know all LSU fans are probably saying, "Oh, those games don't matter. We beat Bama. We're the best. We're number one." Well, here's the thing. Little lesson in history for you. Beating Bama, yes, that makes you number one. But you got to sustain it, because you got to turn around and continue to win. Because we all remember, like Jackson pointed out, KJ Jefferson, if he's not injured, that's more than likely a loss. And then Texas A&M takes you to the house. I mean, don't get me wrong, Texas A&M was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
They were horrible. And you should not have lost that game.
The reason why A&M was losing to South Carolina last year was because they were all showing up high in the locker room. They were just like they were smoking joints so much they thought they were on a kite.
Yeah, yeah. But as for LSU and their schedule, I have them going 9-3. I think, for me personally, in which I'll let Jackson speak to his, I don't think they're going to beat Bama twice. Last year that Mason Taylor slipped in on the 2-point conversion. If that doesn't happen, more than likely Bama goes to the playoffs and they play Michigan more than likely, or they end up playing Georgia again. I have them losing to Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss's offense is gonna tear that defense apart, and I think Arkansas gets them again. Jackson, who are your two losses for LSU?
Ole Miss and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, why I got Ole Miss beating LSU? I'm going to tell you, that running game is going to kill the LSU defense. And the transfers that Ole Miss has picked up for the receiving corps, that is going to hurt LSU's defense big time. And it's at Ole Miss. So this year's edition of the Magnolia Bowl is going to be a scary one for LSU. But here's one other game to watch out for that might give LSU a little trouble that no one's really thinking about. Yes, it's a non-conference game, but this team has given Michigan trouble in 2019. They gave Wisconsin trouble in 2021. They gave Oklahoma a lot of trouble in 2018. That team is Army. Watch out for Jeff Monken and the
Yeah.
Army Black Knight.
Yeah, a lot of people forget Army can give a team a heck of a time.
Yeah. They took a really good Michigan team to double overtime 2019.
Now, speaking of teams who had a heck of a time last year, Jackson, and who's looking to rebound? Texas A&M, Jimbo and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And as y'all can see, both of us have them going 8-4, and the obvious big win that we have is Alabama. We believe they get them this year. But Jackson, let me ask you, how important of a redemption season is this for Jimbo, in your opinion?
A really big one. I mean, they better have a big one, but it's not going to be as big as like 2024 because you're not going to see Alabama and Georgia on their 2024 schedule. But this year, they have to have like a 9 or 10 win season. Nobody's saying they have to win the West Division. They just have to show that they are in contention for a New Year's Six Bowl, and they have to show everyone that they can put a scare into a team or two in the SEC. And upsetting Bama is one of them.
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. For Jimbo, he's getting paid a lot of money, more than we'll probably ever see in our lifetime. Like, he's getting paid a king's ransom. Texas A&M fans are saying it's national championship or bust. Now, us, me and Jackson, we look at it as if y'all can make it to the New Year's Six, that's a great job. Like, that's fantastic, Jimbo. You redeemed yourself. But A&M fans, they've got this in their head that it's national title or bust. Just like Georgia and Alabama fans have become now. It's natty or bust. Which for Texas A&M, I'll say this. Texas A&M, they could be really good and they can be really bad. It all depends on their schedule. They'll always have the talent. But I think the biggest tell is everybody remembers the 2020 season. That was a cluster muck in itself. And Jimbo had a great year. But that was due to unfortunate circumstances that, were unforeseen. And he got a big raise off that. But what has he done since then? Not a whole lot of nothing.
Not a whole lot.
I mean, yes. So this year is make it or break it for Jimbo. If he doesn't at least go 8-4, 9-3, there could be a lot of questions surrounding them. Now, me and Jackson have had conversations, and I've always said, is Jimbo going to get fired? Well, Jackson, which you could share this side of the story, Jackson, why you believe he doesn't get fired. Because I think Jimbo could get fired, but Jackson believes otherwise. Tell him why you believe otherwise there, Jackson.
Too much money. I mean, he's got like a $75 million buyout. Nobody's going to fire him. I mean, nobody is in a hurry to pay out that much money. And I guarantee you, at some point, if it does get bad enough, they will be contacting his agent, negotiating his buyout. Because there's no way, as sure as God's little green apple is in that tree, you're not going to see them pay out $75 million. You're going to see them pay out like a $20 million buyout or like, $10 million a year or something like that. Who knows? But they're not paying $75 million at once.
I'll say this: Texas A&M. Why did you give him that much? I like same thing with Michigan State. You're giving away too much money, guys. Yeah,
He's
I
got a
get
great
you want to
agent.
lock him in. Exactly.
That's why.
That's the story. That's a lot of money. But looking at their schedule, obviously the big win over Alabama.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee gets them. I think Tennessee's going to be too good for them. I think A&M should go through their non-con okay. I think Miami is going to be the bump in the road in the non-con. And no, the U is not back, guys. It's not back. Don't get your hopes up yet. But I think A&M can manage the schedule. I would say 8 wins at least, if not more. What do you think, Jackson, in terms of the schedule and record?
I'll be honest. I see Miami beating them in tight fashion, and then we see Tennessee beating them down. Then we see Mississippi State pull a little bulldog magic to keep bowl eligibility hopes alive, and we're gonna see A&M go to Death Valley and then get smacked around in Death Valley. Now, Texas A&M has ended the LSU dominance over them in 2018. Yes. But have they won in Death Valley since they joined the SEC? No. No, they haven't. And are they going to do it this year? No.
Nope. Well, speaking of coaches and interesting things, the Ole
Ooh.
Miss Running Rebels, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, yeah.
and Lane Kiffin. We all
Lane
remember the
Kiffin.
infamous, are you going to Auburn? Are you not? Or possibly you going over here, you're flirting with other jobs. And then it comes out, oh, I'm staying at Ole Miss, everybody. And it's like, huh? So you did all this for what? Just to drum up media attention? It's like, what's your take on all that, Jackson? Especially coming into this year.
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, I think that's what led to their 4-game losing streak last year. I mean, all that distraction. I mean, the Alabama loss, I mean, that was a tight game. But the Arkansas game, the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State, and the Texas Bowl against Texas Tech, yeah. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss were really distracted. They could say they weren't, but they were. And their defense was unfortunately really mediocre. So it was just falling apart all over the place. But they rectified that by getting Pete Golding to be their new DC. Came from, hint, hint, Crimson Tide. And we're going to see if Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin can continue that magic on the offense. Now, the passing game was 58th in the nation, but it's going to get higher because of the additions on the transfer portal that they made was Zachary Franklin from UTSA. Now, he was 11th in receiving yards for the season. That's a big get right there. And Ole Miss Nation, when I went on some Ole Miss shows here and there on Twitter, they were pretty excited about getting him, and they were excited. I'm gonna tell you that's gonna help them. I mean, I do think they'll go 8-4, yes, but if they go better than 8-4, like 10-2 to like a New Year's Six bowl, that's gonna be why. That passing game. And that running game, Quinshaw, Judkins, I mean, they are going to put a hurt on a lot of defenses this season.
Yes. Including LSU. LSU is one of our teams that we have them beating. Because let's be honest, I know everyone talks about Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, as they should. They're the best running back duo. But not too far behind is Ole Miss's duo. Not too far behind. people want to make it a big margin. I think it's a lot closer than people are giving it credit for. I think Ole Miss is going to have a lot of success off that offense. Defense, like you said, Jackson, we got to wait and see on that, because if their defense is like anything like it was, and they're just giving up points left and right, we're in for another long season from Ole Miss. But I think
Sure.
Todd Golden's going to get it fixed. He's going to get that defense fixed because he comes from the Saban tree. Nick Saban,
Oh yeah.
you know, he replenishes coaches and makes them great again. I mean, look what he did for Bill O'Brien. He got him a job in the NFL again, which Alabama fans, y'all were ready to ship him first class out the door. You were ready after the Tennessee game. Let's not kid ourselves. But
he was a disaster.
this is not about. But this is not about Alabama. We're taking the shot away from Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they'll be an interesting team.
Oh, yeah.
I think 8-4. I could see 9-3 because they have some very winnable games on that schedule. I think Tulane could be a game where they could win or they could lose. I know Tulane was the Cinderella of last year to a lot of people. You know how they beat USC, but USC fans are saying that game was a fluke, of course, because Caleb was hurt. All the circumstances around that. You know, Ole Miss will be interesting. Jackson, what's your take on their schedule and their games and our record predictions?
Well, one to watch for is week 2 at Tulane. That's going to be a really good game. I mean, everybody's talking about Alabama, Texas, and some people are talking Iowa, Iowa State, Oregon, Texas Tech, and Texas A&M, Miami. But Ole Miss versus the defending Cotton Bowl champ, defending conference champ of the AAC, that's going to be a really good matchup. And a lot of those key guys at Tulane have returned. I mean, that is going to be a great one right there. I mean, Georgia Tech, they're going to get smacked around by Ole Miss. But little fun fact, though, Ole Miss was conference opponents with Tulane at one point and Georgia Tech in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Georgia Tech was in the SEC until 1963, and 1965 was the final year that Tulane was in the SEC. And how Georgia Tech left the SEC, well, let's say it involves this team, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, it's very interesting for Ole Miss, but another team, Jackson, that has a lot of intrigue about them is
the
Arkansas Razorbacks. The Pig Suey.
Yeah.
Suey is Sam Pittman and those Hogs. You know, they're another team with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders. There's a lot of hype around them. You know, there's a lot of hype. You know, there's a lot of critics out there that said this is the best Arkansas team that we're going to see and that they could possibly compete for the West. What is your take on Arkansas, Jackson? Do you see potential competing for the West? And just talk about their schedule predictions a little bit.
Well, I'll be honest. I hope that they do better than where I have them. But, you know, they had that little collapse, that mid-season collapse from 2021. And they had that little mid-season collapse from last year. And I think, unfortunately, it happens again for Arkansas. And it has nothing to do with the team Arkansas is. It has to do with their schedule and the teams that are ahead of them. Now, I mean, we're looking at LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Alabama. That's 4 straight losses for you, buddy. I'm sorry. And I do think Florida takes you down a little bit. They're going to beat you. But at the same time, I'll be pulling for your Razorbacks. I hope y'all turn that jukebox up in 2023, especially with the fact that y'all were 7th in the rushing yards per game with Rocket Sanders. And unfortunately, KJ Jefferson wasn't healthy for the full season. So that kind of bit y'all a little bit. And it showed that when he was back for Ole Miss, oh man, they shellacked the Ole Miss Rebels. It was not pretty.
Now, yes, I would like your take on this, Jackson. Do you think KJ Jefferson is a Heisman candidate potential? Because we talked about Spencer Rattler earlier on. Obviously, your contenders are going to be Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, your Bo Nixes, your Drake Mays. But does KJ Jefferson somehow slide in there or finish somewhere in that group?
I think he's a lot better than Spencer Rattler, in my opinion.
That's a fair assessment. There's a lot of people that would agree with you on that. But do you think he's Heisman candidate?
Not at the moment, but when it gets to November, let's see.
That's a fair assessment. Now, another interesting storyline coming into the season for Arkansas, Jackson, is Mr. Sam Pittman. Is his seat getting warm at all, in your opinion?
No.
Or do you think he... Because the reason why I bring this up is because Arkansas has had some heavy expectations in some fans' eyes and some of the media's eyes. Do you think an 8-4, 7-5 would be a letdown and it would cause some hot seat talk to come about? Or is that just the talking heads trying to get stuff stirred up?
That's the second one. It's the talking heads. But I do see where you're going. I mean, Arkansas being, a mid-tier team, with the record saying they're mid-tier. I don't think they're going to put him on the hot seat because, the AD that hired him is still there. He loves Sam Pittman. Oh, man. And Sam Pittman loves being at Arkansas. All those players, they love him over there. And I think once you see Saban retire, and if you see Arkansas sticking with Sam Pittman, which they most likely will, you could see Arkansas being more of a player for a 10-win season. I mean, you could see them getting. You could possibly see them getting a 10-win season with the right amount of luck. So that would be pretty cool. And
now
dedicate the 2023 season to Ryan Mallett. Rest in peace.
Now, Jackson, speaking of head coaches, we have a new one in the SEC that's making his debut, and that is Mr. Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Now, I want to preface this. He has a checkered past on the off the field. We're not going to talk about that because this is not what that's about. We're going to talk about the man on the field and what he brings. Because it's none of our business what happens off the field. Us as football fans, we're gonna judge him on what he did on the field. So, for Auburn, it's gonna be interesting because new head coach, new system. They got some talented players. We both have them making bowl eligibility, but do you think Hugh Freeze is the man for years to come, Jackson?
Oh, totally.
Beyond the 2023 season.
Oh, totally, man. I mean, he's got them getting all kinds of wins in recruiting. I mean, he's doing some of the same magic that he did at Ole Miss. He's bringing that same magic for Auburn. I mean, I think this year he's going to give Alabama a hard time, but will they give Georgia a hard time? No.
Yeah, not quite yet. And speaking of the schedule, you look at it, it pans out. Their non-con, it works out for them. Georgia, and Bama. I don't think they're quite there yet. Those are 2 losses. I think that there's some interesting games on here. What is your take on the schedule, Jackson? And games that you believe that they could win or possibly, just get blown out and raced out in?
Well, you look at their non-conference schedule, like the week before rivalry week, you see New Mexico State. Then you look at the first 3 weeks. They got Massachusetts in week 1. Then they got to go to Cal Berkeley on week 2 on ESPN Pac-12 After Dark, one of the last Pac-12 After Darks in this season. And then you're going to see Sanford come over to Jordan-Hare for week 3. And let's be real, those are 4 easy wins for Auburn. Now, the question is, where are we going to see the other 2 for the conference schedule? And as we look at it, we see Texas A&M, they have to go to the 12th man and see if they're going to get a win there. I don't think that home field advantage is A&M's got a lot of home field advantage. Auburn not going to have a whole lot of advantage. Unfortunately, home field advantage is not going to help them against Georgia. But then week 7, they got to go Death Valley, play LSU. Last time they were in Death Valley, they ended that losing streak in Death Valley that dated back to 2001 and ended it in 2021. Pretty much one of the few good highlights of the Brian Harsin era at Auburn. But do we see Hugh Freeze beating LSU and Auburn? Not quite. They're not going to beat LSU. Ole Miss, that's going to be a fun one because you see Hugh Freeze having to come face to face against his old team, Ole Miss, at Jordan-Hare. Unfortunately, that game's not in Oxford. Imagine if it were, though. CBS is going to be thinking, should we put... I know Bama, Tennessee's our CBS game, but should we put Ole Miss Auburn on there because of the awkwardness between Hugh Freeze and Ole Miss? I guess we'll see. And then we got Mississippi State coming to Jordan-Hare. Obviously, I believe that's going to be a win for Auburn. Then we see Vanderbilt coming over November 4th. That's going to be an easy win for Auburn. Then they got to go to Arkansas November 11th. Arkansas is going to chew them up like a chicken nugget with that running game. And then, as I said, there's that New Mexico State game. Easy win. And then we got the Iron Bowl. That's going to be a tight victory by Alabama. But do not be surprised if Auburn pulls off an upset over Alabama. Do not be surprised about that. Because rivalry week can be
the SEC is the SEC is very loaded. There's a lot of games that you could look at for any team, including Auburn. You can say, "Oh, is this a win? Oh, who knows what happens here?" But especially in the Iron Bowl, anything can happen there. Once again, just like I brought up in my Alabama preview with Jackson. By the way, go check it out. Great stuff as we preview all things Bama. The kick six, obviously, that's the most memorable game. It's arguably the greatest game in that rivalry's history. But anything can happen. But we both see them as making a bowl and Hugh Freeze getting them back on the right track. Now, a team that's, has some unfortunate circumstances hit them, this past year. It's kind of a sad thing. R.I.P. Mike Leach. God rest his soul. Hope he's doing good. Good.
Father of the air raid
Mississippi State. Yes. Mississippi State, after that tragedy, had to go find a new head coach, which they did. So how much of a turnaround period will there be? Your take on it, Jackson. How much of a turnaround period do we think we'll see?
Well, I think they should be turned around for week 1 and week 2. but I don't think they'll be able to get through LSU, South Carolina, and Alabama in the next 3 weeks. But luckily, week 6, they got Western Michigan coming over to Cowbell Land, and that's not a pretty sight for Western Michigan. They're going to get beat down by the Bulldogs. Then we're going to see Arkansas. Then we're seeing the Bulldogs head over to Arkansas for week 8. Then we see them head over to Auburn for week 9. They're going to lose those 2 games. Then we see Kentucky heading over to Starkville on November 4th. That could be a toss-up. I mean, it could be a Mississippi State win. It could be a Kentucky win. We don't know. I guess we'll see. But November 11th, a team that they've had the upper hand on over the past 2 years, Texas A&M, man, they go on the road to the 12th man. But I think Will Rogers can help keep bowl eligibility hopes alive. Then the week before rivalry week, they got Southern Miss. That's going to be a win for Mississippi State. And finally, we see rivalry week against Ole Miss, and that's going to be a clinch of bowl eligibility against Ole Miss. That's going to be a big win for Mississippi State. But although
yes,
week
it
2
is.
will be a pretty fun matchup between Mississippi State and Arizona.
Yes, it will be. That's one of the 5 wins I have for them. Yeah, but my only SEC win, and fittingly, is Ole Miss rivalry week. Mike Leach's last game ever, gonna be a win for him. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of emotion heading into that game, because Mike Leach, everyone's gonna remember him 1 year ago to the day. R.I.P. God rest his soul. He left us way too early. And they're going to be fired up, motivated. And I think they beat Ole Miss in tight fashion like they did last year. And I think they get it done. Now, you, on the other hand, Jackson, believe they're going to go bowling for Coach Leach. Now,
oh yeah,
who are your two? What are some games that you believe that Mississippi State could shock some people in?
Texas A&M and Ole Miss.
You think South Carolina could be a shocker?
Unfortunately, no. But then again, with that tough September South Carolina's having, you never know, especially in college football and especially in SEC country.
Yes. Well, that brings our records to conclusion. No shock here, but our SEC championship game is Georgia over Alabama. Georgia versus Bama in the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Hot Atlanta, everybody. And we have the Dogs reigning supreme once again. Jackson, just give me your quick thoughts and overall on this SEC title game, how you see it playing out, and maybe throw a prediction out there if you'd like.
Well, right now, I'm thinking Georgia wins the SEC title game with a 38-35 victory. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope Bama wins the SEC, but right now, I am just not seeing it at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Jackson. I think Kirby Company is going to continue on, and it's going to be another Georgia win. Now, with a little superlatives, yearly awards. We always talk about the superstars and the players that get all the attention, but who are some players that maybe could be flying under the radar? So, who will be your breakout player of the year in the SEC, Jackson? Start us off.
Zachary Franklin from Ole Miss.
I like that choice. I like it. I'm going to go Joe Milton. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. He's flying under the radar for a lot of people. I know a lot of people have not had any confidence because of his Michigan days. I think he proves them wrong here at Tennessee. Has a fantastic year. Now, the next yearly award that we're going to hand out is Best Game of the Year in the SEC. The game that everyone's going to talk about, even into next year, even towards the end of the year. So, Jackson, give me your game of the year in the SEC. The best game of the year.
The Alabama-Tennessee game in Tuscaloosa, October 21st, 2:30 p.m. on CBS.
Like it. I'll do you one even better. Alabama LSU. I think that game's going to be fantastic. I could see that being an awesome game. Jalen Daniels, Jalen Milroe, Nick Saban, BK. Get the popcorn ready. Get it cooking now. We could smell it coming. But Jackson, there's always the best game of the year in every conference. But you know what else there is, Jackson? There's also those games that people sleep on. That everyone takes those naps on, like that they don't think will be worth anything. So, who is your sleeper games in the SEC?
Florida, Tennessee. Because people forget that Florida has a lot of dominance over Tennessee and Gainesville, and Tennessee has not beaten Florida in consecutive years since 2003, 2004. Is this the year where Tennessee can finally slay the dragon in Gainesville? It looks like it, but they haven't in years past. Can they do it this year? We will see. And plus, we will hear Tennessee is back.
Yes. I have a really good one for y'all. Ole Miss LSU. Another LSU game, of course, but I think this is a game everyone's going to kind of go to sleep on, thinking LSU should have this in the bag, thinking, the offense is going to give them a little trouble, but LSU should overcome it. I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch. And like I said, I have Ole Miss sneaking that one out. I think that's a sleeper game that everyone's going to sleep on. Another one is Kentucky, Florida. I feel like that game's going to be really, really close, and it's going to be a game people sleep on. There's something with Kentucky, Florida. Something always crazy happens. But you know what's not crazy, Jackson? If your defense can stop that craziness.
Oh, yeah.
Your defense can stop the craziness, or the offense can create that craziness. Who will be the best offense and defense in the SEC this year, in your opinion?
Ole Miss is going to have the best offense in the SEC, and Georgia is going to have the best defense in the SEC.
I agree with you on the defensive part, but I think Tennessee's going to have the best offense.
Ooh, there we go.
I got Tennessee is the best offense. Georgia's the best defense. Other contenders for the defense, maybe Alabama. But other than that, the defenses are going to be a little lacking. Maybe you could throw A&M in that category. Offenses, you could throw a lot of people in that category. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Arkansas, Bama, Georgia, LSU. The SEC's loaded with some offense. Now, before we head on out of here, give me your hottest take for the SEC, Jackson. Give me your hottest take.
Texas A&M upsets the Alabama Crimson Tide this season.
I'll do you one even better, Jackson. Joe Milton finished his top 5 in Heisman voting.
Wow, there we go. I'm loving it.
The year of the Milton.
Oh, there we go.
Now, before we head on out, Jackson, just give me your overall final thoughts where people can find you, and just tell me what you think of the upcoming season for the SEC.
Well, I think the upcoming season is going to be another terrific year in the SEC. Georgia could be knocked down a peg due to having Mike Bobo as their OC. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I'm just kind of like they should have hired someone better than Mike Bobo. But other than that, it's going to be a very competitive year for everyone in the SEC. Everybody's going to be gunning for that New Year's sit spot. So that's going to be really good. And where you want to find me is on YouTube, where I host my show, The Jacksonian, and I also post some individual videos here and there that aren't like part of the Jacksonian, just some random clips here and there. And you can also find me on Twitter, where I give out some of my takes on the college football, NFL, and a little bit of NBA, a little bit of MLB, and a little bit of random other stuff here and there. And you can also find me on Instagram, where I will give out, some of the stories on the headlines, and, I can show my appearances on the Instagram stories and wherever tweets you may find on the Paul Feinbaum Show. And you can also look and see what I have to say on college football and NFL and other crazy stuff in the sports world on threads.net. So check me out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And, you'll get, I guarantee you're going to be very satisfied, very happy to hear what I have to say.
And be sure, by the way, be sure to check out the Jacksonian Wednesday night at 9:30 as he welcomes the Arizona SSS into town. They will talk all things Arizona, talk everything realignment. It's going to be a great show. Be sure to check it out. Leave the thumbs up, like, subscribe to his channel. Help us grow, guys. We love talking college football, college basketball. We love talking things sports, as you can tell. We love it all. Be sure to check that out, and be sure to like, subscribe, and turn that notification on bell here as well. More great content coming your way. We got more things coming. It's going to be a great time in the SEC this year. Hopefully everybody's team does well. But as for tonight, we're out. Peace.